Hey YouTube, it's Liam the Deaf Doom Method. I hope you're all well. I thought I'd try and do a different video today where I kind of discuss a topic instead of just showing off new shit, because everyone loves a vinyl update or a CD update, and I watch those videos all the time, but I kind of want to do some different videos than what I've been doing at the moment. So for this one, I thought it'd be interesting to try and look at bands where they've had albums with a certain lineup, and then that lineup has changed. They put out another album, and is it better, is it worse? Kind of have like a discussion kind of thing, and like open the floor to you guys to comment below what you think is better, and kind of communicate with the world, as it were. So I've picked, I think, 6 or 7 bands that I have records, CDs of, with different various lineups of that band, and what I think is better or worse of those albums. So I'll kick off with a band near and dear to my heart, and that is Candlemass. So the first one, obviously, Epicus Dominus Metallicus. Yeah, I mean, this one has the singer Johan Lanquist, I think how you pronounce it. Yeah. And to me, obviously, any Candlemass fans out there, sorry about the glare, will know, most people will say this is it. You don't touch anything else. This is the best Candlemass album there is. I don't agree with that. It's a great album. I mean, the artwork I've got tattooed on my arm, it's a classic, but it's not the best one. So obviously he left after that album. I didn't think he liked performing live. So they had to get a new vocalist, and obviously they had Messiah come in for 3 albums. And to me, out of the Messiah albums, Tales of Creation, stands out as the best one for me. It's the first one I ever heard. Obviously, the other 2, like Ancient Dreams, classic albums. But for me, this is probably my favourite Candlemass album out of all of them. I mean, I like a lot of them, but this one for me, it has everything. Big epic vocals, big chunky guitar riffs. I mean, the first album's obviously very epic. But then Messiah kind of brings a whole, almost like an Ozzy Osbourne vibe to the band. Performing wise, live, totally different. Stomping around on stage, big hair, all in your face. And then, obviously when he left, they lost a lot of that. And I never saw them live with Messiah, unfortunately. Even when they got back together and they put out the self-titled, I never got to see that tour. And it still fucks me off to this day. But they obviously then changed vocals and got one of my favourite vocalists in of all time, and that was Robert Lowe, and he did quite a few albums with them, but this is probably my favourite with Robert Lowe, the King of the Grey Islands. Yeah, this is very heavy, very, very epic. I don't know if you can see there on camera or not, shitting these CDs, but there he is in the middle there. This was a strong lineup to start with, and on paper it worked really well, because Solitude Eternus, amazing band. Candlemass, amazing band. Sounds similar. Merge the two. What can't go wrong. But then some of the albums came across as a bit lazy to me, especially the latter ones. The vocals, I don't think Robert Lowe wrote the lyrics. I don't know, but it was just every song was the song title in the lyrics. There wasn't any. It wasn't very creative in my opinion. But this one really stands out. I really like this album. Very heavy, very dark. It also has a cover of The Gallows End and Solitude with Robert Lowe on vocals, so that's really cool. So yeah, they went back to the original singer Johan Lanquist, and they put this absolute monster of an album out, The Door to Doom. Really, really good album. Very strong. They're very strong now as a band. They kind of faltered throughout the years, and I kind of lost interest in them because they've just kind of become a mockery, and then they obviously retired from recording and they went to becoming a live band, and even then they weren't what they used to be. But now, totally different. Really strong, really epic. This and the new EP is very, very solid. So, real return to form. But yeah, what do you think? I mean, out of the 3 for me is Messiah, the best vocalist. They had another chap, but I can't remember his name in for a little while. But I've even got that album. Probably should do to complete the collection. But for me, yeah, Tales of Creation on that one. But there is also another singer I nearly left out. And this is a really good album, and most people forget about this one even exists. But that's Chapter 6. And yeah, it's just, this is so different, but at the same time it sounds very much like Candlemass. Thomas Vikstrom, I think his name is, as the singer. Really upbeat, really epic. I mean, he did a really good job on this album. Really good job. And a lot of people forget about this album, but to me, it stands out as a very, very good album on its own. I got the digipack version with the DVD included. I don't know if it's been remastered or not. I don't think it has, but it's got a lot of bonus tracks on there. Yeah, and you know, to me, that is a very, very good album. A lot better than some of the latter ones they put out. And yeah, it's strange how he did one album and then he left, because I thought this, you know, they were going to go on and do really good things after hearing this. Obviously this came out way before I was old enough to even understand what Candlemass was, but I think it came out in the very early 90s. This is obviously a re-release in 2006, so I couldn't tell you when the original version came out, but yeah. Again, I mean, Messiah, and then probably Robert Lowe for the early ones. Obviously Johan Landquist, and then probably that Thomas Vikstrom album. But yeah, what do you think? And then moving on, I had to pick this band because, you know, it's one of the biggest bands in the world, and probably one of the most ridiculously priced for albums, in my opinion. But that is the mighty Metallica. Obviously Master of Puppets with Cliff Burton. Most people will say this is untouchable. I disagree. It's a very good album. The Thing That Should Not Be, and Disposable Heroes, Leper Messiah. Very, very heavy tracks. Really good stuff. Very good video production. But that's my favourite with Jason Newsted. You know, to me, Harvester of Sorrow, probably their best track by a country mile, in my opinion. One, obviously, is a classic. Blackened, really good riffs on that one. The Frayed Ends of Sanity, To Live Is To Die, you know, absolute bangers on this album. But I can see why a lot of people don't like it, because obviously you can't hear the bass. They toned it down, but as a guitar player, who needs bass? Who cares? But you know, a lot of people get up the arse about this album, because obviously then after this one they kind of went downhill in people's tastes, especially if you're a Thrash fan. You know, Black Album is not a Thrash album, and the next two are certainly not a Thrash album. I like them all, really. The only one I don't like is Lulu. I think that's, you know, doesn't even count as an album by Metallica, but it exists. Saint Anger I like for the aggression, the rawness of it, because obviously then they changed lineup again, and then you got now Robert Trujillo, and this album's all right. It's a lot better than the last one I paid for. I got the Death Magnetic box set in a coffin, which I no longer have. I have the CDs, but not the box. It really upsets me because it's probably worth a fortune now. Or probably not. It wasn't that great. But this album's all right. It's got some good tracks on it, but it's too long, far too long. If you're a band and you're putting out a double CD album, why? When you're at that kind of point in your career, you can break it up, put the rest out next year. It's too long, far too long. You know, the first CD is very, very strong, and then Here Comes Revenge, naff. Man Unkind, naff. Confusion, naff. I mean, the only one I really like is the last two, Murder 1 because it's Lemmy, and Spit Out the Bone, which should have been on the first disc. You know, if you got rid of Now That We're Dead, put Spit Out the Bone on it, perfect Thrash album. You know, heavy, hard, slow. There's, I mean, what was it? Dream No More. That's basically a nod to Master of Puppets, The Thing That Should Not Be. So, I mean, a lot of people I know are gonna, if I say which one do you prefer, they're all gonna go for that one. But for me, it's definitely that one. Good album. I mean, Robert Trujillo, brilliant bass player. But for heaviness and riffs, always going to be that one. So next, I thought I'd go again with a band I'd probably never talk about on this channel. But when I was a teenager, I absolutely loved them, and I still like them to a point. And that is the mighty Testament. Now, I'm going to pick out one specific member that makes this band brilliant, and that is Alex Skolnick. Amazing guitar player, really genuine guy. You watch him play, he's not even looking at the guitar, he's fucking all over the place, but it's all spot on. Seen him live a couple of times, and yeah, you get your money's worth just watching him. Saw them live last time, and they all did their own instrumental piece throughout the set, and yeah, I hate that. You know, as a band, do an instrumental piece as a band, not on your own. Alex Skolnick, that's the exception. Brilliant guitar player, can solo perfectly, but then you get like Eric Peterson just tremolo picking the shit out of his guitar, and it's just like, I don't care. Then you get a drum solo straight after that for 10 minutes, and then Steve DiGioia, I think his name is the bass player. He's an amazing bass player and really enjoyable to watch, but at that point they kind of butchered it because everyone was doing the instrumental for 10 minutes, so I really lost interest. But anyway, the album I'm going to compare that to is this one, Low, which had no Alex Skolnick on it. It had James Murphy. Yeah, James Murphy as lead guitar. I like this album, but it's so different to that one. So different. Death metal kind of vocal style from Chuck Billy, which I kind of like because I'm a death metal fan, but at the same time, when you're so used to him singing on this and you get this, it's a bit strange. Guitar's obviously tuned really down low. It's got a very nighty sound to it, obviously for the time, and they're obviously trying to change it up a bit. And it just doesn't sound like Testament at all. And I don't even know how many of the tracks they actually play off this album anymore. But for me, this is a stone cold classic. Best Testament album by a country mile. You know, first one ever bought as well. And, you know, I still listen to this now and again. Electric Crown, Let Go of My World, The Rituals, The Seasons Grey, and you know, all of them. Every single track on this album is fantastic for me. So yeah, what do you think? Which one's better? Obviously everyone's going to go Alex Skolnick. I'd be very surprised if anyone says James Murphy and this album is better. But yeah, I mean, they're totally different albums, to be fair. So yeah. And then next, being a big Doom fan, I kind of worship Tony Iommi. You know, I've got him tattooed on my arm. You know, the godfather of heavy metal, as it were. And obviously they've had quite a fair bit of lineup changes through the years. But I'll focus more on the vocals for these 3 albums I've picked. So obviously, Ozzy Osbourne, Paranoid, excuse me. Great album. Every song on here is pretty much a classic on their greatest hits. You know, there's not War Pigs, Paranoid, Fairies Wear Boots. You know, all of these are on a greatest hits, which you don't normally get on one album. You normally get 1 or 2, but this is everything. But throughout the years, obviously, I listened to Black Sabbath and I discovered like the Dio era, and I was lucky to see that one live. I've seen the Aussie version as well, but for me, everyone says Heaven and Hell. Dehumanizer, I think, is way better. You know, the last track, Buried Alive, it's just solid riffs, really fucking heavy. And you know, Dio is a great vocalist. Computer God, After All the Day. You know, every song on this album is a classic for me. And when I compete with these two together, this one always wins, even though that's got, you know, all the classics on it. That one does it. But Tony Martin's Eternal Idol, I just got this recently. I fucking love this album. I mean, no one talks about this album. It's amazing. You know, you've got such great musicians on here as well. You've got Eric Singer on drums, you've got Tony Martin, Jeff Nichols, Dave Spitz, Bob Daisy. The riffs on this, especially the title track, Eternal Idol, that's probably the best Black Sabbath Doom song you're going to get. It's heavy, slow, epic. It's fucking awesome. And the instrumental, the Scarlet Pimpernel as well, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. For a bloke that's got no fingertips, amazing. And yeah, out of the 3, you know, obviously there's the one with Glenn Hughes as well, which I haven't got. I really prefer Tony Martin out of the 3, just because he's a better singer. Dio obviously is you know, can't be touched, but his songs always seem to be in a certain style. They don't change. There's always one formula for Dio, and that's it. You know, if you picture Dio singing Ozzy songs, it doesn't work, and probably vice versa. If you've got Ozzy singing Dio songs, it just doesn't work. But out of the 3, obviously they're all classics in my opinion, but I'll probably go with the more obscure one, just because the riffs are better, in my opinion. And then the next up, another British legendary band from Birmingham, and that is the mighty Judas Priest. You know, everyone knows about Judas Priest, Rob Halford, British Steel, absolute classic. You know, lineup on here, solid, no issues at all musically. It's just straight to the point. Every song's a classic. You know the words, the riffs, the solos, the works. You know, it's great. But then obviously they changed it up and they got the Ripper in. They did Jugulator, and the only one I actually have is Demolition, which is ironically the first ever Priest album I got. And he's a really, really good vocalist. Very, very good vocalist. I've shown this before on my channel, but you know, very underrated singer. You know, I've seen him in Life's Earth. He's done all sorts of weird shit. I think he even covered a few King Diamond songs. He can go that high in his vocal range, which is really impressive. But the problem is, songwriting wise, this takes such a dive compared to these. You know, I've got Painkiller here as well. You know, everyone likes Painkiller. Different drummer on this one, obviously. And you can really tell, obviously, with the title track. Massive difference. But, you know, I really like Ripper, Judas Priest. You know, you listen to their live shows. There's a CD I need to get, which you can watch on YouTube, of him doing like live stuff in, I think, 96. It's great. Really good. Really heavy. The guitars are really, really chuggy and really solo-y. You know, that metallic kind of sound they had, which they kind of pioneered. But obviously, Rob Halford will probably always win it for me, just because it's Rob Halford. You know, Defenders of the Faith, this one. I really like Nostradamus, Ram It Down. I mean, the new one as well. Fire Something. You know, it's fucking awesome. I haven't got that one yet, but I need to get that one because it's really, really good. But yeah, what do you think? Ripper or Rob Halford? It's probably going to be Rob Halford for everyone, really. I can't see anyone saying otherwise on that. And last but not least, my favourite death metal band of all time. And one, you know, I've probably honestly say I've become quite shit throughout the years for their approach. I mean, you watch some clips on YouTube of them playing live and it's just, what are you doing? You know, really unprofessional. And that is Morbid Angel, Dave Vincent and Steve Tucker. It's the old argument, because obviously you've got different guitar players on second guitar throughout the years, and obviously different drumming right at the very start, but for me it's the vocals that make it. And Domination, Dave Vincent, is probably the best death metal album for me anyway to ever, you know, exist. It's that good to me. Really heavy. Where the Slime Lives, Dominate, Caesar's Palace, Hate Work, which is a real doomy number. It's great. But the weird thing is, because it's pretty much the same lineup on these two albums, bar the obviously the singer. And this is got a very similar vibe to Domination, but there's some real weird tracks on here. I mean, it's really heavy. I really like it. Guitar tone sounds pretty much identical. Obviously, you've got Eric Rutan on both of these. Pete Sandoval on drums on both of these. But Dave Vincent, his voice is so iconic in death metal, and I saw them recently when he did his I Am Morbid tour, and he's got all these guest musicians, and it was spot on. Played the stuff off this, the first three. Obviously, he's not playing anything off these albums. And they're really good, really, really, really good. I had tickets to go see the current lineup of Morbid Angel, and they cancelled because they couldn't get visas. And it's just like, how can you not get visas after nearly 30 years worth of touring? You know, what have you done to cause that? Whereas Dave Vincent can turn up with a whole fucking band, do a 2-hour show of all the classics, you know, anywhere in the world. So yeah, Dave Vincent all the way for me. I mean, I really like Steve Tucker. Warfather, his other projects, really, really good. And he's also on a few other solo kind of side project stuff that I really like. But yeah, so that's it. Yeah, I've kind of rambled on a bit. It was all kind of done on the fly of this video, because time-wise I haven't had much time to put out many videos recently. So hopefully this will open up discussion and people will get involved, because, you know, I always love watching these kind of videos where people kind of put album against album and band against band, but I thought I'd try and do one where it's got different lineups, bit different. And yeah, let me know what you think. Please subscribe if you don't already. It's always great to see that number kind of rise very slowly. It's gone up quite a fair bit recently, so I'm really thankful for the people that have done that. Click the bell. Apparently that will give you a notification when my videos will come through if you're interested in watching my shit. And also check out my links to Instagram, Facebooks, all the other crap. And I'll speak to you guys soon. Cheers.